welcome to the Age of Listening channel. Today we are doing a fun one. Well, interesting, and it's tea and biscuits time because my guide gave me this picture, and it's all about exiting what I call the simulation that we call life, and it's how we exit, when we exit, and what are the understandings around it. So get that kettle on, pause the video, get the kettle on, get your biscuits, sit down and put your slippers on, because we're about to dive in. Well, this here is my vain attempt to draw a drum. So imagine, you know, you've got a cylindrical sort of drum that's about that thick. So it's pink on the outside, green on the inside, and there's a door. Now the door should be shut, but we're talking about exiting. So I've drawn it open. And this is us in life. Now, I've been told that life is cyclical, lives are cyclical, but also within life there is cyclical events that happen. And when we choose to exit is up to us for two reasons. One is there is a preordered, you know, like you get a game. Let's say an Xbox game, and you decide, well, I'm going to exit at stage 2. I've got things to do, so I'm only going to play on the game for an hour. And so you exit that game at stage 2. Or you may go, well, I only want to experience this particular event, so I'll exit at that stage. After that stage. So you've got that preordained. But then I got two things, and I'm trying not to embellish because I want to just give you what my guide gave me and not me add to it. And I tend to do that a lot, even in my monthly readings. I really fine point it down because I don't want to add to it. Some people do, and they're very good at it. And some people just make it up. I'm not willing to make it up. So I kind of do tend to stick to just what's needed. Now, my higher self, I got a picture. I asked my guide, what is the higher self? That's what I asked. And I got a picture of somebody who is outside of our life experience. I'm not calling it alien. I don't know what the hell it is. I don't know what on earth it is. I shouldn't say hell. I don't believe in hell. We create our own hell. But I got this experience that this person was in, this higher self, this oversoul, was in another sphere, and it was sat at a table, and it was a very modern table, and on it were these circular screens on the table, and when I looked over my oversoul's shoulder, I saw that it was me, but in different scenarios, and my higher self was investigating with great concentration what I was doing. And I got the impression that it was concentrating on how I was handling the situation. What was my reaction to the situation? And was more interested in that than in the background scenery. Anyway, so back to my oversoul. I've drawn this with the exit door there for a particular reason, and any of you that know astronomy will be, you know, and you know about the East Gate and the West Gate, please chime in and put something in. But I've got here a quick picture of the East Gate and the West Gate, and I'm presuming because I'm talking about just the possibly just the East Gate, that's why it's there, but I don't know. But I do have to do that video at some point. Anyway, moving on. So I was told that there is that pre-order date, the preordained time that you've decided to exit. But then, if you have missed that exit gate, and I'll go into that in a minute, but if you miss that exit gate, what will happen is you'll have a circular event, a moment, a week, and it usually lasts, I find it usually lasts for a couple of weeks, where as you approach the exit gate again on the next cycle, you start to feel the vibrations calling you to exit. You don't have to exit. I was told it is up to you, but you will have the vibration so that you know you're coming close to it. Sounds barking. I get it. I think it sounds barking, but I'm just telling you what I got. And I'm all about frequencies and vibrations. So I understand this, though, very well. And so as you're approaching the exit door, and we're just calling it a door because it's not really a door. We're not really, an exit. Is it really an exit? It's just a word. But it's that passing through moment. And as you get over to it, you start to feel it starts to intensify, and then the frequency starts to decrease as you pass it. And this happens over and over again. It can happen every couple of years. It can happen every 5 years. Blimey, I suppose if you're in a really bad moment, it could happen for months and every day. I don't know, whatever. But the fact is that as you're coming up to it, you have an opportunity to decide. So let me give you a quick sort of example. You know how, let's say, you're wanting to get, you know that your car needs a service, and you've been given a date, usually by your mechanic, once a year or whatever, go and have the car serviced. I call it just before the MOT, but hey, that's just me. Oh, anyway, so, sorry, personal joke. So but let's say you're a bit more diligent than me, and you decide to have your service of your car date 6 months before your MOT. That date might be in your mobile phone or in your diary, and it comes and it goes. And then every kind of week or two, you forget about it, but then every week or two you kind of get a bit of a, oh, yeah, it's a bit of a, not a shock, but it's an interruption in your thinking. And in your thinking, you decide, yeah, I keep forgetting to do that. Oh, yes. And you are thinking on, I must do that. But then something happens, or you change your mind, or life gets busy and another day goes by. It's a little bit like that. You receive a thought that says to you, do you want to go? Now, I'll give you a good example in a real life situation. Or I will try to. So I was having this conversation with a friend, and I kept getting this exit feeling. And I spoke to my friend about it. She's probably listening to this. And she said, oh, I think you're probably tapping into me, because I've been kind of getting that feeling, you know, life's getting a bit tough, you know, why don't I leave this mortal coil? And she wasn't being suicidal or anything. She was entertaining a thought of what it would be like if she decided to leave. And that is the invitation to leave. Now, most of the time, we all turn around and we go, no, oh, don't be silly, you know, or you just, you know, you get busy in life, you just decide not to, you know, you don't take it seriously. The opposite, and you go past it. The opposite is where you get somebody who has been told by doctors. In fact, you know, you'll have person A and person B. Person A gets told by the doctors, you've got 2 weeks or 2 months to live. And in fact, they both get told that. One person says, not on your Nelly. No, I'm not receiving that. The other person goes, okay. And they exit. And this person miraculously doesn't exit. You get 2 people who are on their deathbed, and I know this because this is my mum. And I spoke to my doctor about it, her doctor, and he absolutely, like, I've never forgotten it, because he's seen it before. My mum was given a few weeks to live, and she was being nursed at home. And she knew she was dying, but it was taking a while. It wasn't anything sudden. It was a slow progression as everything began to shut down. But my relatives all attended, you know, their goodbyes, and they'd all travelled up from quite far away, and they're all together. And my mum didn't really have the best of time with her family growing up. And the doctor came and visited the next day, and he said, what's happened? And I looked at him and he said, she's gone downhill fast. And I said, I said, her mum and all of her sisters visited yesterday. My mum gave up. She just wanted to leave. At that point, after that visit, and she was gone within a few days. It finished her off. Now, there are people who've been diagnosed and said that they're going to die, that they're on, you know, it's stage 4 cancer, it's everywhere, go home, get yourself prepared for your exit. And 3 years later, they've not gone because they didn't want to leave their children behind at such a young age, and so they stayed for like 10 years. Now, you could say the doctor's got it wrong, but that's happened over and over and over again. And I'll give you another, for instance, actually, a lady that I vaguely knew. She sang at my wedding, and within a few years, she was only a young girl, and she wasn't married at the time. But I think there was a couple of years went by after she sang at my wedding, and she'd got married, and then I think she was either pregnant or she'd just had a baby. And my former mother-in-law rang up my then husband and said, oh, we've got some dreadful news. You'll never guess. No, I won't be able to. Anyway, sorry, that's an insider's joke. She was always saying that. You'll never guess. Blah, 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 has been diagnosed with cancer. And I instantly felt the frequency, because I'm really good with frequencies. And I said, she's not going to live. The frequency she's at, she's not going to live. And you ought to contact her and talk to her and just say what you want to say. You know, thank you for singing at our wedding. I've heard about everything. You know, my thoughts are with you now. Anything I can do to help you, please don't, you know, please don't hesitate. You know, bloody anything. Did he? No. That's why he's my former. Anyway, moving on. A few years went by. And Tim said, you know, my former husband, should say his name. My former husband said, what, you know, is she's not dead yet. And I said, well, no, but she's still on the pathway because the frequency was still as strong. And then she went into remission. And I think it was about 3 or 4 years now. And he said, you know, what are you getting? Because I'd been told she's in remission. And I said, no, the frequencies are still the same. She's still going to exit. And anyway, she did. It was a couple of years later. Now, I know that the reason why she held, the frequency was strong. She was on a road, and I need to get a piece of paper. Let's get a piece of paper. Oh, that's a bit dark. Let's get... So, this is how I see it. Here's a road, and I can feel these frequencies, and here's the exit. Okay, here's the person on it. I hope you can see that. It's not gone off the bottom now. And I can sense the frequencies that are going to lead to that exit. Now, if with this particular person, I was feeling suddenly a different frequency, then she had done something, or something had been done to her to take her off that path to the exit, and she was on a different path now. Now, that doesn't mean that further on down the road, she's going to go back onto that exit path again. But for now, she is off the exit path because the frequency is different. And I can sense the frequency differences. Because death has its own frequency. Everything has its own frequency. And so, concluding here, how does one's higher self nudge you out the exit door? Because I mean, because in the church, a lot has been spoken about, like, oh, the devil came to me and he was telling me I'm going to die, but I refused him. I don't see it as anything as dramatic as that. I kind of see it as your guide kind of putting in emotions that would trigger you to make a decision, because we can only leave with our permission. Now, there's going to be people that say, well, there's a lot of things that happen that are out of our control. We don't all have a choice. But what if I was to say to you, you do? You don't, you might not know it, but the person did. So let's look at that again. It's an uncanny, weird thing that people who are about to, let's say, you know, keel over, let's just say that, their life can alter in the weeks before it actually happens. They might suddenly develop a desire to go to church. They might suddenly have a desire to clean the house, or to tidy up, get rid of stuff in their home, have a clear out. They don't know why they're doing it, but they're doing it. And so there's a subconscious thing that happens. And as weird as it sounds, and I do kind of agree with Dolores Cannon. My guide hasn't said this. I don't know about this, but even abhorrent as it is with children and young people, we have preordained what we wish our simulated selves to go through and to how we want to exit. Because if you think that we've done this time after time after time after time, there's a certain amount of dying that you get bored of, and you think, well, you know, because it sounds so awful, but you have to understand that this is a game, this is a simulation. We play simulation games all the time. When we grow up, probably not my generation, but the simulated games, we get shot at, we get, you know, with knives. I'm trying to be careful of the words I use, but there's lots of different ways to exit on our games. And it doesn't bother us because it's not happening to us, it's happening to our simulated self on the screen. And with our higher selves, it's similar to that. Now, the people around us watching don't really recognize that. And so, of course, we're horrified and we're mourning and it's traumatic and it's horrid. But our simulated, but our real self, our oversoul, our higher self, knows it's not personal. Contentious issue, I know. But if you go over to my playlist for or messages for everybody, you will find this symbol, and it's to do with the emotions that lead the thoughts that lead to manifestation. And so our oversoul or higher self is going to use our emotions as a way to trigger our thoughts, which will trigger the manifestation of exit. And if you go through the playlist, Steps to Intuition, pardon me, I will, in one of those, I tell you of the story where I was going down a hill very fast on my bike years and years ago, and it was a really steep hill. I mean, just think when you were a child and you would, you know, go wee all the way down a hill and you had no fear. Well, it was one of those, but a really long one, and I was going at least 25 miles, if not more than that. I was speeding, and I was young, and I was stupid. And I was going down the hill and I was just thinking to myself, I wonder what would happen if I fell off. And I pictured my front tyre stopping dead. What would happen? And I saw, you know, the bike, kind of the back wheel going over, me flying off. Anyway, because I didn't understand about feelings, thoughts and manifestation at the time, and I was in my 20s, that happened, like literally 8 seconds later, not much longer anyway, it wasn't long. My front tyre got caught in the only area of the whole road where the road tarmac hadn't quite met the curb, and there was a thin strip. I went back and I cycled past that, and I on purpose had a good old look, and there was literally only kind of a I don't know, 4 or 5 feet where it just, in the whole of the road where it hadn't met, and my tyre went straight in that one bit. And as I flew through the air, feeling like, breathe in, chin up, because I knew my face would hit the tarmac. As I was finally landed, the full story's in one of those videos. The irony was not lost on me, and my guide, I'll never forget it, my guide kind of looked at me as if to go, well, I call it my guide because people understand it better, but my higher self just kind of looked at me with this kind of, you're not going to do that again, are you? I got the lesson. I understood it right there and then. And I do believe that I am past, well, it's not I believe, I know that I didn't exit when I should have exited. And it wasn't that situation, by the way. It was another situation, pre. And cyclically, I pass that exit door every so often, and I have a choice whether to exit or not. And I know it for what it is, and I'm like, no, I don't want to. And it goes away. And then a couple of years will come by again, and I'll kind of get it, and then I know it will subside after a few weeks, and then I don't get it again. But I don't see it as hypochondria or alarmism. I see it for what it is. It's an opportunity to exit. I don't wish to exit this time. So hopefully I've explained that. Hopefully I will put a thing here, because I am concerned that I don't want people to think, oh, I'll just exit. I want to exit. And here's the difference between those that want to exit when there isn't the exit door, and they decide to exit here. That's not the same thing as this exit. Okay? I really want to make that clear, because that's people that are caught in literally a depressive state. That's different. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about where you don't feel the need, you're not feeling sorry for yourself, you're not depressed, but you're sensing there's a different frequency, and it's an opportunity. Now, I've always had this kind of gift for knowing when someone's about to go or not, and probably because I've experienced this quite a bit. I've had a lot of people in my family die, and I'm just very used to the frequency of death. My mum, because she was not very well, she was very depressed most of her life, bless her. She tried to throw me out of a bedroom window, and my dad caught me just in time. I've been involved in a car crash that should have killed me at the age of about 6 months. Then I was in a car crash, which again, amazingly didn't kill me at the age of 7. Oh gosh, it just keeps going on. So I'm very used to, I'm very alert to the exit door, but I choose, because I was always such an optimistic child. I was always such a, I was just always in love with life, and it would never have entered my brain to want to leave. I know that. I was a weird kid. You know, my family was very screwed up, but I was odd. I was odd because I wasn't like them, and I was always so really gregarious and happy and a little light. I'm not so much of a light now. Slightly dimmed flame is what I class myself now, especially in the last couple of years. But on the whole, I was full of life, and that's all I'm going to put down to. Now, I'm not saying that other children who die young aren't like that. That I'm just saying that for whatever reason, I miss my exit door. And for me personally, I do feel the pull of it every now and again, but I choose not to. So yeah, it is a contentious issue, and it's, you know, don't personalize it. Don't go into offense and say, well, I know somebody, blah, blah, blah. I'm not interested. I'm really not interested in that attitude, because you're not seeing the greater picture. And the greater picture is I'm giving you my examples that I can give. I don't know your situation, and more importantly, I don't know of or the person that you're talking about. I don't know where they were at. I might be able to give a better example of where their mind was, or probably it was just their pre-ordered time to go. Sucks for you, badly, awful. But that might have been their choice before they decided to enter the simulation. So yeah, bit of a I've gone on longer than I meant to, but I don't know who this is for or why I'm saying this, but I'm putting it out there on record, and make of it as you wish. All right, if you give me a thumbs up and a comment, I mean, even if you give me a thumbs down, I don't care, because the thumbs, they actually help promote this channel. Okay, all right, bye.